everything sports. It's the Sideline Report on your hometown radio station, WPKY, The Tiger. Yes, indeed. Good morning, and welcome to the Sideline Report at 9:04. We're a little off, but that's all right. It just happens that way sometimes. Welcome.
Just a minute late.
Just a minute late. Welcome, Todd Griffin, of the Times Leader, sports editor, into the WPKY studios. We're certainly glad to have you aboard with us on the Sideline Report on this Thursday. Remember that you can text us comments, or if you want to pass along some information to us at 270-963-9038. We'll try to get back to you as we do the show or whenever we can. So welcome, Todd, and boy, big week.
We are immersed in sports this week. I mean, there's just so much of it that we may not have time to get to everything today. That's
we were just talking about that. I was like, man, are we going to be able to squeeze it all in? So where do you want to begin?
Well, the first thing, Emma Talley, just a couple of shots off the lead, actually 3 shots, I think, off the lead at the Australian Open after the first round. Talley led or was a co-leader for much of the first round. Finished -4 in the first round with 6 birdies and, started on number 10 in the first round and got a birdie on the first hole and just kind of carried on from there. And the weird thing, being down in Australia, the time change is so weird that it's like the land of the future because
I can't get it figured out.
Her tee time for the first round is 11:50 on Thursday. Well, that's today, but it's already happened because they're 16 and a half hours ahead of us, so that causes just a little confusion, at least in my brain when you're trying to figure these things out. But she played her first round last night, Central Standard Time here in the United States, and just a great round, and she's right there with the leaders. And her second round tees off at 7 a.m. Friday morning in Australia. Well, that's 2:30 today here, so
Central
I think
time,
she's
right?
in the first group out on number 1 tee today, so has a chance to go out and post a pretty good score.
Yeah, that's good stuff, and we wish her much success. And boy, oh boy, to be in her second LPGA, is it her third event? It's her second LPGA.
This year,
and to be right there at the top of the leaderboard going into the second round, that is good stuff.
Did you have a chance to see any Golf Channel coverage last night?
I did not.
Well, not enough Emma Talley, it didn't seem like. It seemed like even though she was right there on the leaderboard a lot of the night or a lot of the evening, it seemed like they focused their attention on about the same 10 or 12 players, which I guess they make those plans going in, and maybe they're difficult to change.
And it takes a while to kind of get you, hey, here we go. We got this new gal here.
And she had a couple of holes to go when I went to bed last night, but I did hear that they interviewed her on Golf Channel after her round, which was great. But did they have some of the birds mic'd up last night? Did you hear how loud the birds were in the background?
It's Australia. They got those kookaburras down there and all that stuff, and they kind of, I think, want to get you the wild animal experience of Australia.
But it was a great first round. I mean, I don't think they expected that many people, I think, to be in contention like that. Mm-hmm. At one point, there were 20 people within one shot of the lead, and Emma was one of them. I think she's in a 10-way tie for third right now. Somebody's at -7. Another player's at -5, and then all those players at -4. So there's a lot of people up toward the top, and I think they were expecting conditions to be a little more windy or whatever, and the course to play a little more difficult. But did you look at some of those greens? I mean, the slopes on those things are crazy.
I was going to ask you about. I don't have the Golf Channel. I'm in primitive zone these days, but. I was going to ask you about the course and the course conditions. A lot different from the conditions.
It looked great.
Yeah.
And it looked like the weather was pretty good for most part. But I just looked at the greens.
Of course, it's summertime down there, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And the greens were huge. And, I mean, just tremendous slopes. If you don't hit the ball to the right spot in the green, you're in trouble. The ball's going to run off.
Pretty fast.
Yeah, it's not, when I play golf, I'm just trying to aim for the green and hope the ball ends up somewhere near it.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you.
But they have to hit the ball to a certain part of the green or they really get penalized for missing.
Geography-wise, and I haven't looked at the map of Australia. Of course, it's huge. But where is this golf course? Do you know geography-wise where it is as far as where
Not
in Australia?
Exactly. I think it's toward the East Coast.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
I know. Apparently, it has to be closer to us than Canberra was, which was the previous stop.
Because the times was different, was it? A little hour later.
It was 17 hours difference, and Adelaide, South Australia is 16 and a half hours difference, which isn't confusing at all.
No, like you said, it's random. 16 and a half,
So
right?
16 and a half.
Yeah.
So that's why her tea time is 7 a.m. Friday there,
Right.
but it's 2:30 Thursday afternoon here.
That's
so, man,
bizarre.
that's difficult to keep up with.
It is. I'm glad. I don't know how many time zones stretch across Australia, but
I'm not sure, and I'm not sure why there's a half-hour difference.
I don't know.
That really, it's tough enough here when you go between Central and Eastern time and
Yeah.
trying to remember the hour.
we're kind of be in southern Indiana somewhere. I know there's some
Right.
places, that's a little blop somewhere.
But the half-hour seems like it would really throw you if you were trying to go back and forth. But
Yeah.
hey, I guess they got it figured out.
Well, kudos to Emma, and we'll be both Todd and here at WPKY. We'll be following her progress and watch Todd's Twitter feed. He'll throw some blips out there from time to time, and I'll usually repost those.
Well, the good thing last night was she teed off right before TV came on Golf Channel, so I thought maybe she would get a little more TV time during the course of a round, but it didn't work out. But maybe now that she's among the leaders, they can make the plans to maybe feature her a little bit more.
Yeah, and
I mean, she's gonna be done before they come on tonight, but they can always go back and show some highlights or something.
Sure, and I think once they hear, once some of these folks start covering her, hear her personality, and see that smile, it's going to be like,
they'll flock to her, and she'll get a lot more coverage.
Sure, and it's just a matter of just people seeing and her getting exposure.
And let's face it, there's a lot of money on the line this week.
Yeah.
She's a professional golfer. You're a professional golfer because that's how you want to make money, and it's $1.3 million in the purse
Heck of a
this
purse.
week. So I'm not sure exactly what the winner gets, but it's pretty good payday if you can finish in that top 10.
And if she has a great day today, she's I think she missed the cut in that one down there, the first one. But I mean, I think that probably said, you know what, that motivated her for this one, and she'll be able to play all weekend.
Well, and just getting acclimated to the time change, and being in a different part of the world, you really needed that one event just to kind of have that chance to get ready for the big one.
No doubt about it. And it's like going. I mean, literally, you're going to the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And it'd be cool if she could take the Millennium Falcon, wouldn't it?
Like I said, it's the land of the future, the land of tomorrow, because it already is tomorrow.
Yeah, it is. Well, we'll keep tracking her, and that's big news. And congratulations to her, and look forward to seeing how far she can go this weekend.
And other big news: Caldwell County has 6 wrestlers qualified for the state tournament this weekend in Lexington. 2 regional champions, and had a really good Saturday up at Ohio County.
And you were there.
I was there, and still don't know if I was in Hartford or Beaver Dam.
Haven't got the. I saw your post about that. Yeah, it is a little confusing when you're up there. I've been up there and I haven't quite figured out where I like Jerusalem Ridge though. Is where I like up there.
If you go to Google Maps and you click on the Walmart across the street, it says it's in Beaver Dam. If you click on the Dairy Queen that's right next door to the high school, it says it's in Beaver Dam. If you click on the high school, it says it's in Hartford.
Okay.
And we've talked to several people up there, and they all say the school is in Hartford, even though it clearly resides in Beaver Dam.
Wow.
So, maybe that's an enclave. Maybe there's Hartford Prime or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's, this little square around, the campus of the high school and the middle school, which are both there together.
Beaver Dam.
And that's Hartford inside of Beaver Dam.
There you go.
Or they could just call it Beaverford.
There you go. I like that.
That would solve the problem.
That would solve the problem.
But all those other businesses are listed as North Main Beaver Dam. The school says South Main Hartford. And they are pretty close, but it looks to me like it's Beaver Dam.
I wonder how Beaver Dam got its name.
Oh, I don't know.
It probably had something to do with the Beaver Dam, but
yeah.
I'd love to hear the story about how it was named. So,
and I posted a picture, or actually video. I had video of one of the overtime matches on Twitter and my Facebook. And on Twitter, that actually listed Beaver Dam as my location. So,
I saw that.
If you look at every story posted in every newspaper of anything from Ohio County High School, it always says in Hartford. And if you look at my story, it says in Hartford, even though it seems like you're in Beaver Dam. And we've probably spent way too much time on this but I still haven't figured it out.
I tell you what, this is what's cool. Let's go down some of these guys. Let's talk about some of these guys. Dylan Gray, he wins. He claims that regional title at 182. He did it the year before at 160.
Right.
And that's a big deal.
That's 4 straight regional championships for Dylan Gray. The first Caldwell County Tiger to do that. However, there is a caveat there. The postseason used to be set up a little differently.
Okay.
You used to have districts and then region, and they didn't take quite as many to state.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not exactly the same as some of the older wrestlers.
Okay.
We had some that would go to state and do really well. So
due to the way they've structured
right.
some things,
it's a little different, but still a big deal to go in and win your weight class, whatever it is, 4 straight years.
Oh, yeah, that's a big deal. And, of course, boy, I hope this is Dylan's year at state. He won at middle school.
Yeah, he's ranked number 2 in his class. He beat Dion Level in the championship. 7-6 was the decision there. And Level is ranked 3rd from kid from Christian County. So
who's the number 1 ranked? Do we know?
I think a kid from Woodford County.
Okay,
maybe.
I think that sounds right. I remember scanned through it.
So Dylan Gray has a chance to do very well at state. Dylan Walls, who won in overtime to win the regional championship on Saturday at 106, I think he's ranked 3rd in his class, so he has a chance to do really well.
Yeah.
Seth Slayton is going to state as a region runner-up at 152. Bubba Jones was 3rd at 113, and then 2 players qualified, 2 wrestlers are going as 4th place in the region. That's Colin Walls at 138 and Tristan Tinsley at 145. And it's great for those guys to get to qualify and get the experience to go to state. But when you start looking at the brackets, if you go in as a number 4, you're drawing a number 1 from somebody else's region.
I was going to ask you that's the way it works in wrestling is.
So, man, it makes for a tough opening round match for those guys.
But if you can get by it, of course they get tougher to keep on. But if you get by that one, then you kind of
if you upset that first match, get the upset. Then you've got the number 1's draw the rest of the way.
Exactly. So that's what you want, and so that sets up well if you can get that first one under your belt. So congratulations to those guys. What a great season, and what a great job Coach Walls and his staff have done with our program. We've got a lot of middle school wrestlers that have had great success that are coming up. And of course, they do a fantastic job with our wrestling program. I love. I want to mention this. The Seth Slayton's opponent from Hopkinsville, Zlatko Skoljan.
Yep.
That was pretty interesting.
That was a pretty close match in the finals. I think it was 6-3 or 7-4, something like that. And it was a good match. Just Seth just couldn't get over the top there and get the win, but. A good match in the finals. Caldwell County had 3 kids in the finals Saturday up at Ohio County, and I think took 10 wrestlers, and 6 of them qualified for state. So, and the Walls kids are both 8th graders. So,
right.
Good things coming.
Good things coming. Some of the other Tigers participating were Samaj Kimbrough. He placed 5th, I think, at 120, and John Paredes 6th at 170, and Sam Tush. Is that how you say that? He was 6th at the 195-pound class.
I learned a couple of things at regional wrestling on Saturday. Number 1, I learned about the blood round. That's the consolation round right before the 3rd place and the 5th place match. Because if you win that round, you're in the 3rd place match and guaranteed to go to state.
Oh, right.
If
the blood
you lose
round.
that match, you go to the 5th place match, and of course. You could still go as an alternate at 5th, but that's kind of a long shot.
That's kind of the cutoff there, isn't it?
But that's the thing. That's the key match that either gets you to state or doesn't get you to state.
Is the blood?
Right. And the other thing I learned is that Samaj is James backward.
Wow. My name is James. I might have to do that, but you're exactly right. It is. That is pretty cool. Samaj is James backwards, kind of like Tober's robot spelled backwards. You remember that?
Oh, really?
You remember Tober, the robot, the toy?
No, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, I had a Tober.
I'll have to think about that. Maybe it's in my brain someplace.
Yeah, it's kind of a queer little toy, just kind of strange, because it had like a clicker button, but yeah, it was Tober.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, so James, Samaj, Tober, robot, spelled backwards.
But I was proud to come back with some, new information.
Yeah. Will Brown chimes in and says that this is the most successful program in the county. We appreciate that because we talk things such as robots named Tober and backwards names. But no, in all seriousness, congratulations to those wrestlers because that's tremendous.
A lot of tradition in Caldwell County wrestling.
Yes.
We've had state champions in the past, and I'll admit I've got a lot of respect for any kid that will get out there on that mat.
Let me
and
tell
compete.
you, it's something else.
I don't care if your record is 0 for the season.
Yes.
If you'll get out there and compete, you've got my respect.
My son wrestled 1 year and did not win a match, but I was never so proud because he went out there each and every Saturday and kept going back. He learned a lot, and the coaches were great with him. He learned a lot, and it's a great program, and we have a proud wrestling tradition here in Caldwell County. And again, kudos to the coaches and all those kids, those young men that are learning to wrestle. Just fantastic program.
If you're out there on the mat, there's not much help coming. If you get in trouble, it's you. It's all on you. So
I watch Vision Quest every now and then. Have you ever seen that show? That movie? But yeah,
well,
there's a line in there. He says wrestling's not a team sport. When you're out there on the mat with a guy, there's not a whole heck of a lot a team can do about it. But there is a team aspect to it too.
We talked
camaraderie.
We talked about the Vision Quest soundtrack while at Ohio County on Saturday.
I play off of it all
some
time.
of the day with Scott Brown from WKDZ Radio and
Yeah.
Tyler Dixon from the Kentucky New Era, and
Yeah.
The movie Vision Quest came up, and we mentioned the soundtrack, and
It's from a Terry Davis book. I have the book too.
I did not know that.
And it's a very good book.
I do think I impressed them with my knowledge that there is a Dio song on
Highway to Heaven.
Yeah.
And that's what it's called? I got the soundtrack right here. Hang on.
Yeah, see if you can find that.
I got it.
Hungry for Heaven.
We might even Hungry for Heaven.
It's Hungry for Heaven.
It's Hungry for Heaven. We might have to play a cut off of it.
And Madonna's on there, and there's another pretty good song on that.
Madonna made an appearance in the movie in the Onion.
That's what they said, but I
there.
forgot that.
Oh yeah, and when she was because that movie came out in '84.
It's probably been 30 years since I've seen that movie.
Oh, I watch it all the time because it's so good. I love it. I got to find the soundtrack. We'll keep talking.
I mentioned that I haven't seen it. It'll probably be on one of the movie channels or some station now in the next few days, and I'll have to try to catch it. But that's one of those movies that I remember, but just barely. I think I remember playing the soundtrack more because Crazy for You by Madonna was on it. And back at old WPKY,
we had it at the old WPKY.
We played it forever.
That's where I got familiar with it. And the great track on here, of course, he had Journey's Only the Young.
Oh, yeah.
John Waite's Change.
Yes.
It's great. And in the movie, Loudon Swain is climbing a pegboard in the wrestling room to that. It'll fire you up every time. So
I think the Vision Quest soundtrack probably was a little better than Vision Quest the movie.
I don't know about that. It's one of my favorite 80s
Lunatic
movies.
Fringe is on here. Wow.
Yeah.
Sammy Hagar's on here, Foreigner.
It's a great soundtrack. And Tangerine Dream did the musical score for the movie.
Wow.
Yeah. And no, I think you need to give Vision Quest a try again because it's a good 80s movie. It's one of my favorites.
And the music's great.
Yeah. So yeah, and the book is really good too. So, I mean, if you ever read the book Vision Quest, it's a coming-of-age book, so to speak. I'm not going to do a book review on it, but it's almost like one of those where, a kid's learning about life and growing up and in the wrestling text. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so there you have it. But congratulations to our wrestling team.
And Vision Quest. So
why not?
Everyone will have to check that out.
Everybody's going to go rent it now. They're be downloading it.
But again, it's such a difficult sport. I mean, and the other guy's out there, and he's competing just as hard as you are sometimes. And
no doubt about it.
Again, just a ton of respect for anybody who'll get out there and compete, whether they win the region or go to the region, or like I said, if they're 0 for the season. I think it takes a lot of guts to get out there and just put yourself in that position and compete.
It does, and knowing that at any time, you could. I mean, it's one of those sports you can get hurt. I mean,
there were a lot of matches stopped on Saturday where somebody would get injured or a bloody nose, and you have to stop the match and get that stopped and clean the mat.
Let's just tell it what it is. It's a scrap.
It is, yeah. I mean,
it's a scrap.
You're wrestling somebody. That's what it's called. So
yeah. So, all right.
But good luck to everybody at State. And
yes.
Man, to be sweet.
I'm fired up, man. I'm on my caffeine high. I'm ready to go. Yeah, we might have to play a cutoff Vision Quest soundtrack here in a minute.
Well, I can't decide what to play, though.
We'd have to do Dio, man.
Yeah,
we're hungry for heaven. Yeah. Boy, that was horrible. He's going, oh, my goodness. And Will Brown's chiming in and said, Lunatic Fringe.
Yeah, it's all on there. I'd forgotten how great the Vision Quest soundtrack actually is because, again, back in the day at the former studios at WPKY, that album was just
we had it
right
on vinyl,
there.
man.
I mean, it was right there, and you could just grab it and pull any song off of it and go.
And just spin it.
It was a fallback, It was like one of the Doobie Brothers albums.
Exactly.
I mean, you could just pull it and play any song.
When you had Best of the
it.
Doobie Brothers, man, you just pull that thing out and just put anything on there, and it worked. So, back in the day, man.
So we've talked about Emma, and we've talked about wrestling, and, good luck to them. And, again, competing at high levels, Emma in the Australian Open and wrestlers going to state, I mean, that's kind of why you get into sports, I think. I mean,
yes.
You're either a competitor or you're not, and if you're a competitor, these are the events you want to be in.
You take it to the top, man. That's what you do, and you thrive on that.
So, again, good luck to them, and just want to see them do well.
Heck yeah. And do follow, Todd will be updating on that. We'll try to always up. And we'll keep you up to date. Thought I had another comment
on Twitter
there.
at Todd Griffin 100 if you want to follow. So, give me a follow there, and I try to keep everybody as up to date as I can.
That's awesome.
And I'm sure everybody's been waiting for this since we came on the air, but we do have top 5 lists this week.
Yes, we do. At 9:24, we're right about our time to do that. So.
Yeah.
And go ahead and tell everybody what we decided on, what you decided on. I'll let Todd decide that.
Okay. This week we're doing our top 5 favorite NBA players.
Yeah.
And I can tell you how this came about is because I was flipping through the channels the other night, and on ESPN they had a 30 for 30, and it was the two-parter Celtics and Lakers from, I think, the 84 championship series.
That's classic,
So that kind of got my...
Do you have any Kentucky Colonels on yours?
No, but I do have a Kentucky kid on mine.
Do you? You know, Dan Issel just got named the chair to try to get the NBA team to Louisville.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just saw that breaking
yet.
this morning off K&N. So Dan Issel's going to head that up, trying to get the NBA to Louisville.
Yeah, former Kentucky Colonel and Denver Nugget.
Exactly.
And was coach, I believe, head coach of the Denver Nuggets.
I think he was. So anyway, I think that broke this morning. So.
And I'm not really sure which one of us is first today, but.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go first because, to tell you the truth, NBA is probably my weakest sport. I like it, okay, and I love the playoffs. I usually try to get into that, but as a kid, I didn't get to see many games. I knew it existed.
I loved it back in the day, but
yeah, I mean, I remember the old ABA days. I think I did. Is that American Basketball Association?
Yeah.
So, and one of the great players of that time is on my list, but let me start with number 5, and this is the only modern now player that I have on here, and that's LeBron James, the King. And I throw that on there because I think he has revolutionized just how a big man like that plays.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of them now, but man, it just to see a man that size move that way, to take over a game the way he can, is just incredible. And I think you have to just give him that.
Oh, yeah. For me, the first person that fit that mold was Magic Johnson.
Yes.
He was a 6'7" guy,
But he doesn't even look like LeBron.
Built like a semi, but could handle the basketball, move, pass, shoot, could do all those things like he was 5'10".
Exactly. But if you look at them standing side by side, the bodies are totally different.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, Magic was, I don't want to say, it's just it's soft compared to LeBron. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's the physiques are totally different, but it's just unbelievable the athleticism that LeBron has.
Well, my number 5, and first of all, I want to preface my list by saying Michael Jordan is the greatest NBA basketball player ever. He's not on my list of 5 favorites, but I'm going to acknowledge that before we even start. But my number 5 is going to be the Kentucky kid I spoke of, and the first pick ever of the Charlotte Hornets, Rex Chapman.
There you go. That's a pretty good pick.
From Owensboro,
Yeah.
Kentucky kid.
Yeah,
went
Kentucky
to UK.
kid, yeah.
One of the first people I remember that actually left early. I think he left after his sophomore season.
I think that's right.
Had a good NBA career.
Did he get riddled with some injury, I think?
He did, and he bounced around a little
Had
bit.
some
He played
other
for Phoenix
issues, I
and some
think,
other
but,
teams,
yeah.
and that was tough being the number 1 pick overall of the Charlotte Hornets, and they were, an expansion franchise, and so you had that going. But yeah, I used to had the old satellite dish set up and could scan the skies and catch the Hornets game. So I watched the Charlotte Hornets a lot those first few years because Rex Chapman was on.
I went to Murray State with one of his best friends that graduated high school with him, and I got to he was a fanatic about him. Followed him.
Oh yeah.
And so, but yeah, what a good player. What a great player. And he was fun to watch.
And he hit some big shots for
he did.
Phoenix in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good.
had a really good career.
Good choice. Okay, I'm going to go with my number 4, going back to those ABA days. Philadelphia 76 are great. Dr. J, Julius Erving. And just because back when I in the mid 70s, growing up in Florida, I just buy comic books. And I remember this great little comic in the back. It was like it seemed like it was promoting the NBA or something, but it had Barry West and was it Barry West? Not Barry West, Jerry West. I gotta say Barry West. He's Barry. I went to school with Barry West. Gosh, Jerry West, and that's hilarious. But Jerry West and Dr. J, and they're like in this cartoon, and
it was a shoe commercial, right?
Maybe so, but Jerry West
Converse.
was
it was a Converse ad,
and he was like shooting these 3-pointers, and Dr. J, of course, was windmill dunking. That's the first time you see that windmill dunk. Dr. J would just palm the ball and bring it, behind and just dunk it.
He was the first guy to do those acrobatic dunks that I really remember.
Yeah, and that's that's why he really stands out in my mind. I just thought it was so cool, and you had the great music, the R&B and the funk going every time you saw him on the court. It's just cool, and the big hair. He loved it.
And he kind of got lost a little bit toward the end of the 70s and the early 80s because it was the Celtics who always won the East. And it seemed like they played the Lakers in the championship. And those 76ers always kind of lost in the conference finals to the Celtics every year.
Yeah, and he didn't get to get showcased. He did win a championship, though, I think.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. But he didn't get showcased, like you said.
Not the way
East.
Some of the other guys did.
Yeah.
Just because of, I think, the team he was on, and they were really good. They just weren't quite the Celtics.
They didn't have the collective body of teammates. Yep.
Okay, my number 4, and I think you'll like this one. From San Antonio, the Iceman, George Gervin.
Yeah. And
the finger roll.
The finger roll, yeah. He'd just get there and just kind of jump up above the rim.
And I would try to do that, and somehow it never worked.
Well, it's hard to finger roll when you're 4 feet under the basket.
But he could do it from 10 feet away.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I never understood. He would shoot a finger roll on the baseline going toward the basket, and it would just softly settle through the net. And I'm like,
great hands.
Wait, when I try that, it goes flying over the basket and out of bounds on the other side of the court.
The Iceman, that's a good one.
He was a good basketball player. Again, a little underrated because the Spurs back then weren't really all that good, but you watch them because George Gervin was, and I mean, just so many of these guys, silky smooth. I mean, they just had the moves, and they were fun to watch.
Yeah, and there's so many. Top 5 is tough, especially there's some great players that we don't have on our list, I'm sure. But I've got to go to number 3, and this is kind of crazy to have this guy here, but I've got Michael Jordan at 3.
Oh yeah.
And I would agree with you, probably the greatest of all time. When he came in, in the early 80s, he had a lot of success there at North Carolina, those national champions. And then championships, but totally changed the way the game was played. You knew if there was a game on the line, those playoffs, those clutch shots, he would just take over, and just what an incredible player in sense and everything.
And not just changed the way the game's played, but actually changed the way he played to win championships.
Exactly.
Because when he first came in, he was this incredible scorer. I remember watching him score 63 points in a playoff game at Boston, and they lost. So he kind of reinvented himself. They got some better players around him. He won 6 championships, a 6-time finals MVP, and in between some of those championships, he took 2 years to go play baseball. So you figure if he'd have stuck with basketball, probably a couple more championships there too.
Yeah, and what an incredible player.
So I think he's the best. Ever.
I think he is. But he made number 3 on my list, and I'll explain why in a minute.
Yeah, he didn't make my list, but again, it's favorite and not best. So
that's right.
So my number 3 guy is like just the highlight reel guy from the Atlanta Hawks, Dominique Wilkins.
Oh yeah.
Former University of Georgia standout.
Love to watch him dunk.
Oh yeah, I mean, if the NBA dunk contest was fair, they would just have given it to him every year.
Every year, yeah. He won it several times.
Because, he took some bad shots every now and then, but what NBA guy doesn't?
Yeah.
But he was just fun to watch. I mean, the spins, the dunks, he could jump out of the gym.
And the name is cool.
Oh,
Dominique.
Yeah. Neek. They called him Neek.
Yeah, Neek, Dominique Wilkins. That's a good one. That is an awesome
and the Atlanta Hawks had, like, the best uniforms, and that's something else. If every team in the NBA would go back to their 1980s uniforms, I think I would tune in just for that.
I think I would too, and same with football maybe.
Oh yeah,
same with the NFL. I want Buccaneer Bruce back.
Just their warm-ups were better back then. I mean, everything was better.
Be sure you text us here if we're getting too obnoxious or you want to tell us something. 270-963-9038. Don't forget about that. My number 2, and I do this one just out of fashion statement. And, of course, it comes back to those classic 80s teams. I've got the Celtics-Lakers things going on my last 2 picks. Kurt Rambis.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Love the black horn rim glasses, man. Anybody that can get out there with a strap on the back of his glasses, those black horn rims, handled the ball really well. He's an assist guy, but he could shoot it.
Yeah.
And I just love seeing Rambis out there. And he was gritty. He was pretty gutsy, and he got banged around in there, but
he'd be physical back in the day where you could still do that and get away with it a little bit.
Love the black horn rims, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I loved Rambis.
All right, my number 2 is from that same era, and it's the Hick from French Lick.
There he is.
That became Larry Legend, Larry Bird. Go look at the guy's stats. He was that good.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he was that good. That's just all there is to it. And all those, not only in game situations, but I mean, he could just knock it down every year at the 3-point contest. He was
well, and he almost single-handedly got Indiana State to the national championship game against Magic and Michigan State.
Yeah,
I think that's still the highest-rated final ever on
79,
TV.
wasn't it?
Yeah. And those guys just continued that rivalry
all through their pro careers
in the NBA. And again, they were just that good.
I
hate that Magic's not on my list, but
and he didn't make mine either because the number 1 on my list is the Hick from the Sticks, Larry Bird. He's number 1 for me, and just because I liked the way he carried himself, I liked his game. Those Celtic teams of the '80s were unbelievable, and that rivalry with the Lakers was unbelievable. But Bird, just when you thought he was in trouble, and he could just throw up a prayer and it would go in, and just pass great, just all around game. He just had it.
Well,
and you didn't expect it looking at him.
Even watching the 30 for 30 on ESPN about the Lakers and Celtics, it was interesting that almost to a man, the Celtics said the Lakers had better talent, but they all say we were the better team.
Exactly.
So I think there's a great lesson to learn there. And of course, the Lakers won theirs, and the Celtics won theirs, and everybody, I think, went home happy. Eventually.
Yeah.
But those teams were just so good, and
those guys, I mean,
the age-old argument about are the players better today than they were then? Maybe some of the individual players are better today. I think some of those teams are probably better. I don't know if anybody in the NBA today could handle the Showtime Lakers.
Right.
The way they could handle the basketball and shoot and defend, and they had Kareem and they had Worthy and
Cooper, it was unbelievable. Magic
and all those guys. I mean, they were just loaded. I mean,
it was loaded, and they were fundamentally about as sound as you could get.
Oh yeah, they were fun to watch. Has any team ever run the fast break
the way they did?
The way the Showtime Lakers did? I don't think so.
It was truly Showtime.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 1, and we've already talked about this guy. Statistically, the greatest player ever in the ABA, Dr. J.
Okay, there you go.
And Julius Erving with the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean,
that's pretty cool. We had him on our list.
The Sixers were must-see TV.
They were
on TV because of Dr. J.
Yeah.
And there's actually been things done where they take all the statistics of the old ABA guys and whatever that's called, I can't remember now, but statistically speaking, Dr. J was the best player ever in the history of the ABA.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that a bit.
With the Virginia Squires, I think.
Wow. Yeah, I can't remember, but
I'd have to look that up for sure.
I just remember those cool orange and white balls that they used.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of.
Well, the red, white, and blue ones.
Oh, maybe that's what they were. Yeah. Orange, white. I don't know where I got orange and white, but yeah, I guess they were red, white, and blue, weren't they? Yeah, they were red, white, and blue. That's what they were.
And I think the Kentucky Colonels were the NBA or the ABA champions one year.
I think they were. But I had a black and white TV, so I couldn't tell what to call it. I guess where I got the orange and white. But yeah, they were red, white, and blue, weren't they?
Well, black and white TVs are why in football the home team always wore the color and the road team wore white.
Yeah,
because back in the day, teams wore their colors. And you see that coming back a little bit like USC and UCLA do that where they both got their color. Well, they couldn't do that on black and white TVs because blue and red both look gray. So you couldn't tell the teams apart.
Exactly.
So that's my useless
good useless sports trivia today.
Information of the day.
That's good stuff, Todd.
But yeah, Dr. J was fun. The 80s were fun.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happened to the NBA, but somehow the basketball was better. We didn't even mention the bad boys from Detroit. I mean,
Bill Laimbeer.
Is
that Kurt Laimbeer? Bill
yeah,
Laimbeer.
Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah. Oh man, he was. Yeah, they were nasty.
And
And
I got a useless factoid for Bill Laimbeer. You might know this one.
okay.
He was a slee stack in Land of the Lost.
I did not know
the
that.
original on TV. Yes, he played a slee stack.
He was a slee stack.
Yeah.
Watch out for those slee stacks.
Well, walk away from them quickly.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody's going,
You didn't
people
have
out
to
there
run.
going, what in the heck are they talking about?
You didn't have to run from them. You just had to walk in a different direction. They weren't very fast.
They weren't very fast, the slee stacks, but they were scary.
But
they just showed up,
But
popped up
Laimbeer
there.
was a big guy, and he fit the costume, and he's actually in the credits at the end of the show.
I got to check that out. You've got me. I mean, that's pretty cool that you know that kind of
I
stuff.
can't remember the episode, but
just one episode.
yeah, it was one episode.
So he wasn't
that
consistently a slee
I
stack.
don't think so.
Some people are consistently slee stacks.
Yeah, I never really got. Well, I think we've lost. We've gone off topic a little bit. But
I can't help it. I've had way too much caffeine today at 9:39, Todd. But I know we've got more stuff to talk about. If you want to take a quick break so we can collect myself, or you
I
want
was
to talk
going to
some
mention
more?
just a couple more things
Let's do
on
it.
the NBA.
Let's do it.
Of course, there is a Princeton kid that played in the NBA, and that's Greg Smith, and he won a championship with the
Yes.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Yes.
And, if we'd gone 10, I think I would have had him on there with Michael and Magic and Pistol Pete Maravich, who was a little bit before my time, but was really
But a legend.
one of the first showmen, I guess, of the NBA. Didn't mention Oscar Robertson, who averaged a triple-double one year. I mean, they talk about the triple-double, and here's a guy who averaged a triple-double one year. And I just want to say this because this is my favorite name ever in the NBA.
Averaged a triple-double.
He averaged a triple-double.
Wow.
My favorite name ever in the NBA is World B. Free.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that's my NBA.
No doubt about it. World be free. Yeah. That's and he played for the Lakers some, didn't he? Was he in the
He
World?
may have. He bounced around.
I know he
quite a
bounced
bit.
around
He
quite
was
a
one of
bit.
those guys that ended up being like the best guy on a team that wasn't very good.
Right.
So I think he was on the Clippers and maybe the Sonics.
Right.
I can't remember, but I just remember the name.
Yeah, what baffles me about are the Pelicans in New Orleans?
Yes.
Now?
Now.
Now they are.
They actually gave Charlotte the Hornets back
They did.
because the original Hornets went from Charlotte to New Orleans and were
Yeah.
the New Orleans Hornets.
Right.
Well, they changed to the Pelicans, and the new Hornets were the new Hornets. The new Charlotte was the Bobcats.
That's right.
So they became the Charlotte Bobcats. Didn't have much success with the Bobcat name. Wanted the Hornets name back. So Charlotte is now the Hornets, and New Orleans is now the Pelicans.
Wow. And where are the Jazz? They back in Utah?
The Jazz are still in Utah.
But they used to be New Orleans.
Yes. Well, that nickname makes sense.
Yes.
You know, the New
That's what I'm
Orleans
saying,
Jazz
yeah.
makes sense.
Of course
the
it
Utah
does.
Jazz doesn't make any sense.
No, that's what I'm
whatsoever.
saying. When they move you out to another state,
Yes.
and to where there's no jazz tradition there,
Right.
It almost seems like you have to change your name.
Yeah, they could have been like the desert or the lake or something.
Yeah. The Utah, I don't know. Mormon Tabernacle, I don't know. But anyway, it's just it's interesting this NBA, and of course now Kentucky is in the mix to try to get a team to Louisville. How cool would that be?
Well, they've got a great arena set up.
Oh yeah.
You would like to think that the basketball passion is there. As a matter of fact, if you look at the TV ratings each week for college basketball, one of the best markets in the country for college basketball TV viewership is Louisville.
Yeah.
So people there like to watch their basketball, and you would think if they got an NBA team that there would be an instant rivalry with like Indianapolis.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's interesting. I think Issel might be the guy that can at least make a run at getting a team there. Now, I know all kinds of economic factors and things have to happen and take place, but we'll see. It's pretty interesting.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if they can get an expansion team or if they can just buy an existing team, kind of like Oklahoma City did when
Yes.
it enticed the Seattle Supersonics to move to Oklahoma City and change their nickname
To the
because-
Thunder.
Yeah, because Sonics would not have worked.
No.
But-
Boeing's not sitting in
Yeah.
Oklahoma City.
But sometimes nicknames make sense, and we could do a show on that. But, the Los Angeles Dodgers. The name Dodgers comes from Trolley Dodgers when they were in Brooklyn.
Yep.
So
Yeah. That's
It would be difficult if you had an iconic nickname like the Dodgers, though, and even then it was iconic. It would be tough to change that even if you moved.
And how did the Giants get their name? I wonder from New York. They were the New York Giants too, but I wonder what they were named for. And then of course they're in San Francisco.
Yeah, that one I don't know.
Yeah, but that one's interesting too of how they get that. Maybe they're talking about skyscrapers or something. I don't know. But yeah,
it is kind of interesting how teams end up with their nicknames.
It is.
You know, when the Tennessee Titans were named, I think they had a contest where people submitted entries and they chose one.
Yes.
I think the Predators had the same thing.
Might have.
So
that they might have. But those seem to work down there.
Yeah, for the most part.
They seem to work. I think that you got the Parthenon down in Nashville, and you sort of have that Titans kind of thing going. You can kind of see a relationship.
Well, it's like in hockey, the St. Louis Blues. St. Louis was known for the blues.
Heck yeah.
Maybe not as much now musically, but back in the day, it was a big blues city.
Yes.
So, that's why they have the note on the front of their jersey and the blues.
Yeah. Hey, we have a show within a show.
Hey, we have like crazy trivia. If you're ever on Jeopardy and some of these come up, don't be like those football people who sat there and missed every answer in the football category.
Oh, that was horrible.
You'll know.
And when Trebek's ribbing you as bad as he did, I mean, of course, Alex.
Some of those were fairly easy.
They were really easy. I mean, even if you're not a football fan, I think those three at least should have gotten 3 out of the category.
Well, you should have got a couple of them.
Yeah. So I don't know.
But Alex is sitting there.
He's got the answers.
Yeah. So
he does.
It's a little easier when you know the answers ahead of time.
You got the Alex arrogance is what I call it.
But yeah, that was a good NBA list, and
I think that was pretty.
Anyone
good
hasn't checked out that 30 for 30 on the Lakers and the Celtics, and you like that era of basketball? I mean, it was different, and somehow everything was more fun in the 80s. Even though they were beating each other up, it was still more fun.
Yeah, it was fun. We've got. I don't know where. I guess we can go. Let's go to college basketball real quick, and then I know we got high school basketball to talk about too, but.
Are you going to make me talk about the Wildcats?
Yeah.
Oh.
I am because I'm the first man. I've told people I'm not a big fan. I kind of keep track of it, but I just don't keep track of it. But there's issues. There's some underlying problems, and I just wanted to see what your take of it is because I see some of the chat boards and stuff. I've read a little bit, but there's something that's not right with this team.
Well, this Kentucky team is not lacking for talent.
No, not at all. That's what I'm saying.
It's
so there's
looking
something
for
else.
some leadership.
Yeah.
It's looking for somebody who wants the ball in a close game in the last 4 or 5 minutes, which right now, I mean.
But you lose by 10. Of course, Auburn's a good team, but you lose by 10 down there.
Well, Kentucky actually had the lead late in that game, and they had a three-pointer that if it had gone down would have made it a 7-point game with a couple of minutes to go, and Kentucky would really have been looking nice. It came out. Auburn goes down and scores. So instead of 7, it's a 2-point game, and the momentum swings. But I think the difference was Auburn kind of had its game plan and knew what it was doing and knew who needed to have the basketball and who needed to shoot the basketball. And Kentucky still hasn't figured those things out.
They haven't figured that out, have they?
And
but that's a coaching issue, isn't it?
A little bit.
Yeah.
But I think it's a case where you bring in all these freshmen and this is Kentucky's youngest team,
right.
Which is saying something because they've all been young teams ever since Calipari has been at Kentucky. But at least in the past, he's always had a couple of kids or a couple of guys who had a little experience and had the basketball IQ that, when the game gets on the line, and let's face it, it's what you do those last 4 minutes in a close game against a good team that makes all the difference.
Exactly.
And Kentucky was actually in position. They've actually been in position
several
times,
of those games that they lost.
To pull those games out and just didn't get it done. And they just haven't figured out how to get it done at the end. And I do think there is something to the effect of in the past when Calipari has brought in these freshman classes, there's been like this one huge guy or these two guys. It was Monk and Fox last year.
Mm-hmm.
You looking back, it was Davis and Kid Gilchrist that on the championship team. I don't know if Calipari is getting those guys right now. I think when you look at the top guys in the recruiting classes, you've got Trey Young, who went to Oklahoma this year. Duke is getting some of those guys. North Carolina might be getting some of them. And if you don't get the elite of the elite, it's tough to bring them in, put them out there as freshmen, and expect them to compete against teams that have guys that have played 3 or 4 years, have the experience, know what to do in those critical moments, and have any success.
Yeah, but you have coaches and you have coaches that have lesser talent that are maybe are more consistent than this year's team, and so I guess it's the formula that I'm taking to task that has worked in the past, but I think the formula and maybe the method of trying to win now is getting a little bit old.
Well,
so to
again,
speak.
the one and done only really works if you're getting the best guys. It doesn't work if you're getting the second best guys.
Yeah.
Now you're not good enough to overcome the lack of experience. You can't take a team that's not quite as talented and inexperienced and beat people. If you have a big talent edge on everyone else, well, sure, I'd rather have the talent and maybe not have the experience. But you can't take that second line of players who are still really good but aren't going to have the experience or not going to have the ability for another couple of years and go out and win immediately with them.
Yeah.
You could bring in Anthony Davis, and that guy's talented enough, big enough, smart enough. He's going to figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah.
These guys on this year's team haven't figured out how to play together yet.
Do they make a run this year?
It
You
is
watch 'em all
certainly
the time.
open for someone to make a run because
I know the SEC is not what it's been.
Well, it's pretty
Pretty-
strong
pretty
this
good,
year.
though.
It's not as down. I think that's part of it is there are a few better
Like
teams in the SEC this year.
Uh-huh.
Overall, it's probably a better league, but I just don't think Kentucky has that elite, talent that Calipari has brought in the past. However, outside of maybe Duke, I think Duke is probably the best team in the country, especially when they're playing well, regardless what the rankings say. If I had to have a favorite for the NCAA tournament, I'd probably put Duke there. Might put Purdue up there pretty high.
Yeah, I hear good things about Purdue. Haven't seen them play.
But I don't think there's one team that's just a dominating team that can't be beat. We've seen Kentucky beat good teams. They won at West Virginia, which is a difficult place to play.
Yeah, that was a great game.
They've been right there in some of these other games against good teams.
So you haven't lost hope in this team.
My hope meter is getting lower.
Right.
It's not completely gone because I still think that any team that gets hot at the right time can make a run in the NCAA tournament,
yeah,
especially this year.
There's no doubt about that.
If there were 2 or 3 teams that were just awesome, I would think, well, this season's a lost cause. But it's not. I think a lot of teams, if you can get there and get hot at the right time and make that run, can do some damage. But this team has to figure some things out. It has to figure out that last 5 minutes because last night it had a 4-point lead, a 5-point lead late in the game. And we've seen that a couple of times, and it just cannot hang on to those. And those are games that if you're a Kentucky fan or even just a basketball fan who watches Kentucky, you're used to seeing Kentucky figure out how to win those games. And this team hasn't.
Right.
I've always said there's a knack to winning, and it's not always being the better team. It's making those plays at the end that count. And Kentucky so far hasn't figured that out. They can't even find out who needs to have the ball in their hand at those times.
Right.
So, there's a lot of things they've got to get straightened out if they're going to try to make a run.
I want to get your take on that because, especially after the loss to
It's
Auburn.
frustrating though because Kentucky fans aren't used to losing 4 or 5 games in a season.
No.
And now this team's lost 4 straight.
Exactly.
And is on a slide. And you're wondering.
I mean, yeah.
I don't think there's a quick fix, but something has to change.
Yeah, it just seems like there's something that I'd love to be in practice and see what's going on and how it all works,
But athletically and one-on-one, they could probably play against anybody, but you got to put that together at some point. And
they haven't done it yet. He hadn't figured it out.
I don't think even the team knows who's our shooter, who's our ball handler. Is it Shea at point? Is it Quade Green? I don't know. We're trying to figure out.
I certainly don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Kentucky knows. I think Calipari's even trying to figure some things out. But, in some ways, last night was an improvement because they overcame that spell early where it looked like they were about to get blown out of the gym and actually came back and got the lead. And again, if you're up 4 or 5 points with 4 or 5 minutes to go, no, the game's not over, certainly, and it can still go either way. But if you're a good team, you figure out how to make sure you get good shots, how to make sure the other team doesn't get good shots, and you figure out a way to win the game.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it goes the rest of the year and as we get into the SEC tournament even and into, potentially, they'll be in the tournament, but it's just,
Now,
it's just,
if some of these guys stick around next year and next year's recruiting class, I think, looks a little better than this year's did, at least to me, then maybe you've got something.
right.
But the Calipari system's not really built for guys sticking around.
I was just going to say, wouldn't that be original? To have guys stay in another
really
year.
Game plan, but
No.
if you're going to play that way and you're going to do the one and done thing, which, that's how Calipari has sort of made his name,
Mm-hmm.
you have to get the top recruits. You can't come in with,
But he didn't do that at Massachusetts. He didn't do that at Memphis, did he? It wasn't really the
well,
time
he
back
was
then.
getting some guys,
Yeah,
though.
but he had a
yeah.
little bit more of team building at those places.
He had his Marcus Camby at Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah, he did, yeah.
He had his Derrick Rose at
that's true.
Memphis. So
yeah.
he brought in some guys.
Yeah.
And,
It's always kind of been his signature, hadn't it, to kind of do it that way. But
and if a Monk or a Fox had come back this year,
exactly,
where would this team be? But even the team that won the national championship, had a Miller or some other guys. Some of those other really good teams, Willie Cauley-Stein, stuck
Mm-hmm.
around for a few years when he could have left.
right.
And I think just that experience, you need somebody to kind of show these guys. And I don't think there's anybody there.
Are these
the
guys
senior leadership, for lack of a better term, just isn't there to kind of help everybody along.
Yeah. Any of these guys blowing NBA scouts out of the water?
Well, I think
know
the
they're
last
I know they're
NBA
talented, but
the last NBA mock draft that came out on ESPN or whatever, I think had 4 guys going in the first round.
okay,
You're like, really? But they look at talent and potential,
right.
and the potential is there, but I just don't think they have that. If they'd got that one player that you could kind of rally around,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't see that.
It
player
might be different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to get your take on it. We've got basketball tonight and tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah, it's been a busy week.
Yeah.
Busy 2 weeks, actually, for Caldwell County. Girls were at Ohio County on Monday and got a big win
Got a
up
big
there
win, yep.
in the 3rd region. A lot of times when you
Bella McConnell,
leave the
big
region,
game.
it's tough. Bella had 25 points, 16 rebounds, and 4 assists. And, again, just a ton of respect for the way the Lady Tigers played that game because they were without people. I think they started 3 sophomores and 2 freshmen.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I think they only played 6 people the entire game.
That's something.
And again, when you go out of your region, sometimes you don't get many calls to go your way. I do think they got a pretty fair shake, though, up at Ohio County and played really well, played physical. Ohio County has struggled at times this year, but they have a lot of young kids.
Right.
And they were able to run people in and out all night, where Caldwell County didn't really have that
Just
opportunity.
had to go with what you had, yeah.
Got in a little foul trouble late, but gutted it out,
Yeah.
and ended up winning 67-49, which when you go back and look, you're like, hey, well, it's an 18-point win. But that was a 4-point game with about 5 or 6 minutes to go.
Wow.
So, that's another one of those that could have gone either way, but they made the plays down the stretch and won.
Yeah.
And
Good win.
I think the same thing for the boys at Union County. Struggled a little bit in the first half, but Union County's not bad.
Yeah.
We've mentioned before there are quite a few teams in the 2nd region this year that are pretty good basketball teams, and there are so many it kind of gets, some of them get pushed down the list a little bit, and you think, well, you see the rankings and you see somebody ranked 10th or 11th in the region, and you think, well, maybe it's not a good year for them, but in some instances, still a pretty good team. So I think Union County is one of those that, if they could get to the region, could be a scary look for somebody, and I think Caldwell County kind of fits that same mold too. That if the Tigers get to the region tournament, they could be a tough out for somebody. But both Caldwell County teams now above 500. The Lady Tigers 13-11. The Tigers are 13-12. As you mentioned, both teams will be in action tonight. It's a girl-boy doubleheader at Todd County Central. So we're going to the 4th region tonight. And then Friday, we end the regular season, both teams at Livingston Central, sort of an old 5th District rivalry.
Old 5th District, yeah, that was a big one. And, finish the regular season, and then we're right into district play here at the Cab.
Yeah. Lady Tigers need one win this week to make sure they have a winning season. You know, they could do that tonight or tomorrow night, either one. The Tigers need to win both to make sure they have a winning season. They could still do it in the postseason, but, you know, if you want to go into the postseason having that winning season assured, they need a couple of wins. And if you look at the standings and look at the rankings for both teams and both opponents, a whole lot of evenness going on because Todd County's boys are 15-12 this year. Todd's girls are 12-12. And both of Todd's teams are ranked just slightly ahead of Caldwell's teams if you look at the Litkenhouse ratings, but, I mean, they're really close.
Yeah.
And if you look at Livingston's boys, they've had a good year, 17-12. But for some reason, they're actually just a hair behind Caldwell County's boys in the ratings. Yeah. And Livingston's girls are 13-13. Again, a pretty good year for them. And they're just a little bit ahead of the Lady Tigers.
So very, very close.
Yeah,
very
so you've
close.
got should be 2 close games tonight and should be 2 close games tomorrow. But like the way the Lady Tigers played Monday, especially that second half, really like what the Tigers have done lately. 4 straight wins now. And one of those wins was over at Hopkins County Central. Well, the Tigers will see them again next week in the district tournament. The boys play Tuesday in the district tournament at the Cab against Hopkins Central. The girls play Monday night, the late game against Madisonville North Hopkins. Caldwell County beat Madisonville here, but lost over there.
Yeah.
So you want to talk close games? It's going to be close games tonight, tomorrow, and then probably in the district tournament. So if you want to see some competitive basketball, this is a good time to go watch.
It's a good time to go watch, and, of course, we encourage you to – sometimes it's hard to travel, but if you get a chance to go out and support these young folks on the court, then do it because it's a lot of fun, especially as we're hosting the district tournament out here at the Cab. You can see some really quality basketball and some good young people out on the court.
Well, and the trip to Todd County is not quite as daunting as it used to be.
No.
It used to be 2-lane all the way, and it was kind of difficult, but it can be done in about an hour.
Yeah.
And you've got 4 lanes from Hopkinsville over to Elkton now, so that's not a tough trip at all. And then Livingston's about 40 or 45 minutes. So,
exactly.
And again, you kind of get the old 5th District rivalry going.
Yeah, that's fun.
The Tigers lost to Livingston Central in the boys' second region All-A Classic semifinals. So, maybe the Tigers remember that game and want to get back a little bit. And Caldwell's girls actually beat Livingston Central at the Cab earlier this year. So, I'm sure Livingston remembers that. So, just some good matchups coming up the next 2 nights.
Yep, finishing out the regular season and on to district play next week. So we'll have those doubleheaders for you tonight on the Tiger Down. Dennis Stevens and Bob Hayes will bring you tonight's game. It'll be Eric Jacobs and Bob tomorrow night from Livingston Central.
So lots of basketball, and then again we have the district tournaments here. The region tournaments this year for the boys at Henderson County. The girls will be at Webster County, and actually ran those pairings in the paper on Wednesday, but on page B8, so check that out. But actually a little bit of a change this year because the boys are playing at Henderson County and the gym is not really that big. They've had to split the semifinals to make sure they can get the crowd. So they're going to play those on that Saturday, March 3rd at 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock.
Okay.
The bad news is if you want to see both games, they're going to clear the gym after the first one. So you have to buy a ticket for the first semifinal, leave, buy another ticket.
So it's not you're not in,
So those are at 3 and 7. But because they're splitting those that way, the girls' championship, which is usually played on that Saturday night, is now on Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. So just be aware of that. I think some people like it, some people don't like it.
Right.
I think they had to do it that way because they're moving the boys' regional tournament around a little bit now.
Right.
For the longest time ever, the boys' regional rotated between Hopkinsville and Madisonville, and that's because those are the 2 biggest gyms and, the nicest gyms. And they're actually set up pretty well for the regionals. They have the parking there. They have plenty of seating for everybody, nice place to go watch a ball game. Now that we're moving it around, it becomes a little more difficult to handle the crowd and those kind of things, and that's why you see the semifinals being split, because I just don't think Henderson County's gym could handle, 4 crowds for the semifinals. So
Right. Yeah.
you're going to have one semifinal at 3. They'll clear the gym, and then everybody will be back at 7 o'clock for the second semifinal on that Saturday.
Well, keep that in mind, and yeah, that's just the way they have to do it up there. And do want to remind you that we will live stream some of this. Now, there are some KHSAA particular. Sometimes we have to pay for some of these streaming. So what we might do is just record them and then upload them at a later time, and not have to do that. So I just want to keep you in mind. I've got to do a little bit more research on that, but we'll see where that goes as far as if you want to watch the game and can't attend. So just want to throw that out there.
The great thing, though, we do have the district here,
Yes.
so it's a great chance to go watch. And those 2 Caldwell County games should be barn burners. Like I said, girls are split with Madisonville. The guys are split with Hopkins County Central. So this is the one that matters.
That's exactly right. So cheer on our Tigers as they wrap up the regular season and head into district play and hopefully regional play.
And I think we were able to touch on a lot of things today on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Good luck to Emma. Good luck to the wrestlers. Good luck to the basketball teams. The 5th District basketball tournaments are next week at Crittenden County. Lyon County's boys are the number 2 seed, and the boys will play Monday night in the 5th District tournament. Lyon County's girls are the number 3 seed, but the top 3 in that are pretty close.
Pretty close, aren't they?
So, well, actually, they were pretty close in the boys, too, because they had to have a 3-way coin toss to determine seeds 1, 2, and 3.
Wow.
So those tournaments will be fun down at Crittenden County, too.
They will be, and those will be at Crittenden
Good luck
County.
to them.
Good luck to all our sports teams as they look forward to wrapping up the end of the year and into postseason play.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, been a great show, and appreciate this.
Be sure and watch Vision Quest and check out the Vision Quest soundtrack.
I think let me load up. We're gonna do some Vision. You want to do the Dio?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do the Dio.
You can never go wrong with Dio.
I don't think there's anything in there that we can't play, but we'll just claim ignorance. But
no, I think it's all.
I think it's okay. Let's see. It's called "Hungry for Heaven." It's track number 6. When we get through with our outro, we'll have the Dio. We'll get the Dio going. So, anyway, Todd, it's been a fun show as usual. We want to encourage you, if you're listening to us live, use our texting. We have a new little text thing that we can get your text instantly here. We can see them up on the screen, and we encourage your comments and your thoughts and anything you want to throw at us, suggestions. We encourage that here on the Sideline Report. We certainly appreciate the Times Leader bringing you the Sideline Report. Be sure you pick up your editions of the Times Leader on Wednesdays and Saturdays, the best sports coverage in the area. Todd Griffin supplies that via the Times Leader.
Yeah, you can still pick up Wednesday sports section, and there's lots of information in there about the wrestling and Emma Talley and the basketball team. So
certainly, be sure
like
you
to think
do
that it's a restaurant quality production.
No doubt about it. As good as a Big Mac or whatever.
A Big Mick from McDowell's.
Big Mick from McDowell's. We love that. So, and also remember that you can email Todd at timesleader.net. That's Todd Griffin at timesleader.net. Had to grab that and look at it.
It's on top of the sports page.
On top of the sports page. If you have anything you want to get to him and communicate with Todd, be sure to do that and follow him at on your Twitter.
Todd Griffin 100 at Todd Griffin 100
at Todd Griffin 100 on Twitter.
Free.
Yeah, it is. So that's going to wrap it up. We went a little long today, but hey,
that
is okay. And we certainly appreciate you all joining us on the Sideline Report. For Todd Griffin, Ty Englebright bidding you adieu until next Thursday at 9:03 on the Sideline Report here on your hometown radio station, WPKY The Tiger. And we've streamed this online, so later on when it uploads, just head over to WPKYonline.com and check out the Sideline Report here on WPKY. Have a good day, everybody. Here's a reminder from your Princeton Electric Plant Board. Meter tampering is dangerous. Tampering with an electric meter is not only dangerous, it is dishonest and against the law. Stealing electricity by tampering with an electric meter may result in your arrest and can even risk your life. Tampering with meters results in increased utility bills that everyone has to pay. If you see anyone tampering with an electric meter, call the Princeton Electric Plant Board right away at 270-365-2031. Princeton Electric Plant Board, Princeton's #1 energy source. Thanks for listening to the Sideline Report, brought to you by the Times leader, Todd Griffin, in studio to get us up to date on everything Caldwell County sports. So be sure to tune in at 9:03 every Thursday for the Sideline Report, brought to you by the Times leader, Todd Griffin, in studio with all the sports news that you need to know. Catch it on your hometown radio station, WPKY The Tiger.